The big what if that Hunter says is going to shape the college football season in 2024 is what if Jackson Arnold, quarterback in Oklahoma, is a Heisman finalist? Other versions of this that I saw was what if Jackson Arnold is him? What if Jackson Arnold has a better season than Dylan Gabriel had last year? Vegas has Oklahoma's preseason win total over under at 7.5 wins. 7.5. You see Oklahoma's logo, you see that 7.5 win total, you're like, wait a second, this feels a little bit weird. This is Vegas to me saying, new conference in the SEC, okay, that's going to be a little bit more difficult. You're replacing pretty much your entire offensive line. That ain't going to be easy. And you got a new quarterback, and God bless him, super talented, but we saw him in that bowl game have a few turnovers. Maybe Vegas has fallen a little bit victim to bowl syndrome here. All right, for those of you that have tuned into the show, bowl syndrome is where you make too much of a definitive statement based on one bowl game. Vegas is saying, we don't trust you. We don't trust you. We're not Young Metro, okay, so there's not going to be any crazy ramifications from that, but it does bring about the fact that we're going to give you an over-under 7.5 win total. So if Jackson Arnold does what my man Hunter says he could do, and his what if is that if he is a Heisman finalist, if he does that, that means that he went absolutely off. That means that Jackson Arnold, his first year in the SEC, stepped in there and got buckets. Statistically speaking, it would mean that his passing stats are similar to previous Heisman Trophy finalists, is I think a fair gauge for us to put on it. So I took the average of the Heisman finalists that play quarterback from the last 2 years involving guys like Stetson Bennett, Caleb Williams, Michael Penix Jr., Bo Nix. Like, I'm not naming all of them. C.J. Stroud, Max Duggan. I guess I did name all of them. Taken the last 2 years of Heisman finalist quarterback play, and here's the average of what it would look like. He'd be right around 4,200 yards on the high end, 3,800 yards on the low end passing, and his passing touchdowns would probably be somewhere in the range of 36 touchdowns, 37 touchdowns. So let's just say, let's split the difference there and say that Jackson Arnold goes for 3,900 yards, 37 touchdowns. Y'all, you'll take that every single day from a first-year starting quarterback in the SEC. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? That is ridiculous. So that means that Jackson Arnold, again, went off and the box score shows as much. But more specifically for Oklahoma's season, think about how much that helps the offensive line if Jackson Arnold is putting up numbers like that. Now, it's sort of a chicken or the egg scenario of, well, did Jackson Arnold play well because the offensive line stepped up in a big way with a bunch of new cats? Or is it Jackson Arnold played well and that helped the offensive line? Again, we'll see what happens here if this ends up being a reality. But it also means that he got the ball to the right place and these playmakers were as advertised. Like Deion Burks, if you watched the Oklahoma spring game, and you were in tune with what was going on over at Sooner Scoop, the Oklahoma on 3 side, you know Deion Burks, the Purdue transfer playing wide receiver out there in Norman, is an absolute savage. Like, he went for a $175 in the spring game. Afterwards, you could see him out passing, or you could see him passing out juice boxes and T-shirts to all the defensive players because it was the Deion Burks clinic that day in Norman. Andrel Anthony was a stud last year before he went down. He's a dude now, and if he's able to get back from that injury, he's a burner for you. He could pop the top on a defense. Jaleel Farouk, I have not yet sold my stock on him either. I would advise you not to do so as well. He's a player for you. That wide receiver room is deep. And if he puts up those kind of numbers, it'll be in large part because those dudes made plays for him. Now, I think you also got to consider the fact that from a team level, all the question marks around Oklahoma, most of them lie on the offensive side of the football. We're talking about Jackson Arnold right now. We saw a lot of what-ifs revolving around the offensive line of Oklahoma. But, like, y'all, I don't feel that nervous about the defense for Oklahoma going into the SEC. I don't. They bring back 79% of the production from last year's squad that allowed 24 points a game. And even more importantly, you bring back the leadership from last year's defense. Danny Stutzman, linebacker for you. Said I'm going to the NFL, a little crossover. Nope, I'm not. I'm staying. See y'all in the fall. Billy Bowman, stud safety for you last year. He's back. So you have your temperature setters on defense getting another year in, let's call a spade here, Brent Venable's defense. Good things happen with continuity. The longer you do something, the better you get at it. And they have a lot of continuity in that room on that side of the football. I expect them to be just fine. I think if you stay at 24 points a game, that is winning football. Can the offense do enough to maximize your defense is really the question you asked there. And if Jackson Arnold has a Heisman finalist kind of season and you pair it with the defense, like how good is Oklahoma? I think at the very least you cashed in your over-under 7.5 bet if you had the over pretty early on. And I think if Jackson Arnold plays at a Heisman finalist level, Oklahoma's a top-tier team in the SEC. And if you're a top-tier team in the SEC, as we've discussed many times on this show already, you're probably in the college football playoff. You're probably sitting there right around 10-2. And so I don't want to try and extrapolate too much from this what if, but if you have a quarterback and you have a quarterback playing at a very, very high level, being a Heisman finalist level, like you're going to have a chance in every single game. And the way that would unlock the rest of the roster and maximize the rest of the roster, I don't think you can overstate the ripple effect there. So I guess what we're saying is here, if Jackson Arnold is that dude and he plays at that kind of a level, it is very, very possible that Oklahoma goes from being an over-under 7-win football team, 7.5-win football team. What are they? Who are they? Year 3 under Venables, first year in the SEC, and then you say, oh, well, I guess they're a college football playoff team because of what Jackson Arnold brought to the table. Don't get it twisted now. A lot of pieces in Norman. Jackson Arnold, I believe, as with any other quarterback position, is the key to unlocking the rest of that roster. Hey, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.